finally on to the last one. This one will be my shortest one that I made tonight, but I just been putting them off. I got a list of things caused by the boogeyman. I want to read them to you. These are all confirmed things that I have found. I mean, confirmed in the sense that I have found articles referencing them, articles talking about people with the boogeyman having these symptoms and then being related. Articles, medical journals, some of these directly correlating these things. This is a long list of things that they're telling you. And I just want you to consider this. Is this real? I mean, is this real? Everything that ails man. I mean, all of it. Pretty soon, because it keeps growing. I'm not kidding. I actually, before I read this, my list was stupid long. I mean, it was real long, just ridiculous. And I started typing in the name of the boogeyman and every problem that I could think of. And I got a hit with an article or a medical journal, at least one for all of these things. In most cases, more than one. And it was so ridiculous. It was the theater of the absurd. Like anything I could think of, I could punch it in and I could come up with this. I just want to mention one that's not on the list. I didn't put it on the list because it's not directly related, but it was acne. And I don't know if I mentioned this in another video, but I'm just going to make this point here. I originally found acne because I was just typing it in. The boogeyman and acne. And I found that they were saying people are getting maskne. They're getting acne where the mask is inside their face and showing pictures of it. And not just where the mask was touching, but all up inside. And the first two articles that I read, and this was before it was really kind of trending, I read, and they were talking about moisture, bacteria, heat, and carbon dioxide building up inside the mask. The articles actually referenced those things. CO2 buildup in the mask, and referenced bacteria in the mask being the cause of acne. Maskne. Look it up now. I'll bet you won't see that. You got to keep scrolling. You got to keep digging. I saved those links. I saved those articles. But now in the search results, not the first two, not even on the first page. I'm not even fairly certain not even on the first 2 pages of search results, being Yahoo, Google. I looked. Now they're just talking about skin irritation from the mask touching you, causing the acne. But in all of the research that I have done, one of the things that I have found that there are bacteria, and I may have talked about it in another video, I don't know, and I talked about it more intelligently because I had the names written down and I remembered them. But there are bacteria that thrive in situations where there's more CO2, either because they need more CO2 or just because they can survive with less oxygen. Because most bacteria are like other living organisms and that they require oxygen. I mean, like animal type, not trees and plants and stuff. They need oxygen more than they need carbon dioxide, and too much carbon dioxide is going to be unhealthy for them. Some bacteria thrive with it. And there's 2 types that I learned about in particular. One is one that builds up in the mouth and it causes an aggressive periodontitis. They say in kids, but I found that there's plenty of evidence that it's not just in kids. So inflammation of the gums, like severe and aggressive. And that's because of the bacteria. And that's, you have this bacterial infection with bacteria that outcompete the good bacteria that live in your mouth. So we've got good bacteria in our gut, we've got good bacteria on our skin. I mean, have you looked into all of the list is like, it's like a freaking 100 of them. Hand sanitizers that have been recalled. Even if they're not recalled, rubbing that on your hands all the time, you have protective layer on your hands if you let your hands be healthy. Don't wash with soap all the time. I mean, like if you don't wash all the time and hand sanitize all the time, you have a protective layer, protective barrier on your hands, and they're And this stuff's been out in the mainstream in years past, talking about the over-sanitized environments that kids are growing up in, the health effects that they suffer because of it, and they're serious. But anyway, the point was what? I don't know now. What the heck was I talking about? Talking about hand sanitizer, wearing the masks. Oh, yeah. So the bacteria that can infect your gums can also infect your heart. And that's one of the things on my list here from the boogeyman. And that another one of these bacteria that thrive with a high CO2 environment can infect your gut. And that one for sure, I read, creates and secretes a toxin that reduces your cell replication and inhibits your immune response. So the bacterial infection can continue unabated, or at least with little resistance. And I'm fairly certain I haven't been able to, I shouldn't say haven't been able to. I started looking into it. I didn't find a definite answer, and I didn't look back into it. That's honest. I believe that the bacteria that attacks in the mouth and causes this aggressive periodontitis and can also infect your heart also produces that same toxin. So originally, when I was doing this little exercise of just typing in the name of the boogeyman and anything I could think of, anything, acne was one of the things I just threw in there. See if somebody was getting, acne from the boogeyman. And I came across maskne, and the first two articles talked about CO2 buildup, bacterial buildup inside the mask. Find that now. Good luck. So here they are. Some of them, pretty obvious. Cough, headache, congestion, chest and head congestion, runny nose, pain or pressure in the chest, new confusion, something you haven't experienced in the past, inability to wake or to stay awake, sleep apnea, tired, bluish lips or face, nerve damage, like Guillain-Barre, nerve damage. I mean, there's all sorts of fatal brain inflammation, which is acute disseminated encephalomyelitis, or ADEM, which, fatal brain inflammation. So you're going to die. Temporary brain dysfunction. Boy, you could throw a lot of things under that one, temporary brain dysfunction. Numbness in limbs. Hallucinating. Now with that one, I actually read about a woman who had the boogeyman visit her, and she was hallucinating and seeing like elephants and rhinoceroses and gorillas or giraffes or something in her house. I swear, I'm not kidding. That was an actual article. Kidney damage. And I've already talked about this. If you're just a little bit acidic, your body's going to try to regulate your metabolism, and part of that is to store, can't even remember what it's called now, in your kidney, and then that can cause kidney damage. Liver damage, chicken pox-like lesions, rash, and I have found numerous articles talking about rash of all sorts. Hives, freaking hives. And then one that I just wanted to make note of, lacy purple rashes on large portions of one's body. This one's not funny at all. MSIS, multi-system inflammatory syndrome, in kids, which they now are calling MIS-C, miscellaneous, miscellaneous, for real. It's ridiculous. That's not why they call it that, but really, MIS-C. Kids are dying, multi-system inflammation, whole bodies inflamed. Pink eye, and basically anything. You got eye boogers, you got eye discharge, you got redness of your eye, you got light sensitivity, all that caused by the boogeyman. Diarrhea and flatulence caused by the boogeyman. Did I say that word? boogeyman. Hiccups. Cardiac injury that's typically found after heart attack, which is heart inflammation. Blood clots, I've already talked about. If you're too acidic, if you've got CO2 bound to your hemoglobin, your body can recognize that you don't have enough red blood cells then and produce more red blood cells, thickening your blood. Absolutely a reason why you can have blood clots. Absolutely. Pulmonary embolisms, stroke, heart attacks, brain fog, loss of taste, loss of smell, nausea, vomiting, sore throat, muscle aches, body aches, fatigue, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, fever, chills. This one, you can't make this up. I have to say the name here. Boogeyman toes, COVID toes, tender bumps on toes or heels, lower back pain, hip pain, acne, maskne, so indirect. Hair loss, I'm not kidding, hair loss, not a joke. Hearing loss, gastrointestinal bleeding, bloated feeling, excessive tears, Guillain-Barre Syndrome, weakness, tingling in the limbs, paralysis of the limbs, coughing up blood, fainting, high blood pressure, redness or swelling of the hands or feet, redness and swelling of the tongue and or lips, aches especially in the legs, RLS-like symptoms, restless leg syndrome. And I just read this one today. Linked to the onset of type 1, that's the worst one, diabetes in children. They're actually linking the boogeyman to the onset of type 1 diabetes in children. So, I don't know. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm not telling you what to believe. Now watch my last few videos about trusted experts, a couple of articles that I read about how they count cases of the boogeyman, and think about what I just read to you. I mean, do you really believe that? This is pretty scary. Pretty scary thing if you believe it. I'm not afraid. Listen, be strong, friends. You know, be brave, like really brave, you know, like brave enough to be different, to stand up. Turn the TV off. You're sick of me saying it, but turn the thing off. Just begin to look into this. It's not easy, you know, it's not easy because there's contrary ideas, you know, take notes. I mean, research this like it matters. Does it matter to you? Does your freedom matter? Does your health matter? Does it matter? Does seeing your loved ones matter? I'm going to end this one by just talking about this little subject right here. It's not worth making another video about. I mean, it is worth it, actually. I'm just going to say it again. I've got a 70-something-year-old neighbor. One of our little boys shares a birthday with him. We always now, since our little boy was born, 5 years old, for 4 years, we've gone to his house on their shared birthday and brought him cake or whatever snack we were eating, not usually cake. Saying happy birthday, visit with him on Christmas and Thanksgiving, even though we don't celebrate those holidays like, you know, good Americans do, good patriotic Americans. And I would get over there and visit him, you know, at least once a month, and try to do it more often than that, check on him, see how he's doing. And I found out some pretty major needs that he had because I would do that. And one of the things that I heard from him all the time, which we heard from other people as well who were going through, we had a friend who has since decided not to be our friend, but he was a friend going through a rough time, depression years ago. And when he would come and visit, and our kids would hug him, and he'd comment about how much better he felt, and if he was ever feeling down, he'd come and get hugs. And this is something I've been saying for years because it's one of my answers if I actually decide to engage with people who want to comment about how big our family is. I can't get out the door without getting multiple hugs from some people, and at least one from everybody. And so, I'm getting, 15 hugs. And when I get home, I get at least 15 hugs. I get kisses. I get leg hugs. You need a certain number of physical touches a day to be healthy. And I get more than my share. And my neighbor over there, he's got one kid about my age. Doesn't live anywhere near here. And they rarely see each other. He's got no family that lives close. Nobody on the street cares about him. I mean, they just don't. The only hugs he ever gets are from us. And now he's afraid to get those. He has struggled with depression, deep depression. Had to call somebody to help him because he was laying in bed like Brian Wilson. That blues traveler? No, who was that laying in bed just like Brian Wilson? That I can't think of who wrote that song, where that lyric was from. But he's afraid to see the kids now. There's way more damage done to him. In his heart, psychologically. This is a huge deal for him. This might be the end of him. He's not going to live a long time. He's not healthy. He's got diabetes. But he's had his ups and downs. We've seen his ups and downs over 10 years. Serious ups and downs, But when we're seeing him, when we're visiting with him, that's a big part of why he's up sometimes. And I'm very worried about my neighbor. And I've got some good old friends, some people I really care about, and have known for 10 years. 2 people I worked for, and befriended, and they're leaving. They're leaving this city. They're moving to another state. They were living in New Orleans. I don't live in New Orleans, but I would see them, pretty regularly. They like to see Teresa and the kids too, even though they knew me better. And we would always, when we had those opportunities to visit, we would visit for a couple of hours and mutual. We enjoyed it all the way around and appreciated one another. And I hardly saw him. No hug. I might never see him again. No hug, no handshake, fist bump, distance, not much talking. Now he was busy, he was busy getting ready to leave, but at the same time we would have found time to visit. And I didn't even see her, not even through glass. She's afraid, I think, to be near. Didn't even see her. And these are older folks. I mean, they're not like super old, but they're 30 years older than me, and in that range, 25, 30 years. And they're friends of mine, and I love them. I only got to see one of them, and I didn't get to tell any of them a proper goodbye. I just don't know. I'm gonna mirror a couple of videos, one of which was just talking about what kids are missing right now. I learned this when I was young. 80% of communication is nonverbal. And not everybody talks with their hands as much as I do. But we communicate with our face. And kids' brain development, and more than that, their emotional development, their heart development, is very much tied to their ability to see people's reactions. Smiles are powerful. Powerful. And yeah, you can see smiling eyes, but sometimes you just can't tell. And I'm telling you, I was at the store today, and I'm watching people walking, and their babies, man, it's way up here. You couldn't tell what kind of eyes they're making. Kids can't even see their parents' faces. And strangers. Listen, I got a lot of kids. I think kids are beautiful, wonderful, blessing. Kids are amazing. And if I'm at a store and I see a little kid, I smile at them. They smile. They say hello. They wave. Is it really no big deal? A depressed neighbor afraid to get the hugs that sustain him. Good friends who may never see each other again. Not seeing each other. People not getting physical touch? Kids not seeing faces? Is it really no big deal? Okay. So long, friends.